I have an admirer of my work, before we jump to any conclusions, who sends me crates of this stuff. Bless him. I plan to spend most of my retirement in a state of sweet oblivion. Sometimes the days seem interminable. I seem to be suffering from that occupational disease of the elderly, thinking about the past. Has it got you in its grip?
No, not really. I try to ration my memories.
Well, shall we throw caution to the wind, start on the wine before we eat?
Why not? I've been missing those expense account lunches, courtesy of the listener.
Yes. Well, you're getting soup from the tin, followed by lamb cutlets and salad. Nothing French or fancy. You can't expect sole bonne femme on a BBC pension. Shan't be a moment.
Be kind to my memory. Joe Ackerley's father used that phrase. I don't think Joe would have expected or wanted such consideration. It's all there in my books, he'd have said, right down to the sordid details. He was the kind of writer who enjoyed analysing his weakness of character and his failure to cope with life. In reality, he was far from weak, of course, and certainly not a failure. He did become increasingly cranky in his old age and cut off from normal life. And that was perhaps the result of 25 years' hard labour with the BBC. But there was another explanation. He was lost without his dog.
Can't you control your wretched animal?
Yeah, she's rather nervous, I'm afraid.
Bloody dog.
And ourselves to you.
Soon be on your little legs again.
Oh dear, what a shame. What's been the trouble?
Poor thing had a tumour. They had to cut his stomach open. If it wasn't for that nice lady vet, he might have died.
I hope she gets better soon.
Oh, thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Queenie, come on, girl.
It astounded me to hear that dogs underwent major operations and had their stomachs opened and shut as we do. I was then quite new to the dog world, for my present dog was the first I'd ever possessed, and there was much that I didn't know and wished to learn.
Mr. Ackerley. It isn't difficult to tell a dog's character from its face. Queenie's a good girl. I could see that at once. You're the trouble.
Really? Do tell me.
Well, she's in love with you. That's obvious. And so life is full of worries for her. She has to protect you to begin with. That's why she's upset when people approach you. I expect she's a bit jealous too. But in order to protect you, she naturally has to be free. And that's why she doesn't like other people touching her. She's afraid, you see, that they will take hold of her and deprive her of her freedom to guard you. That's all the fuss is about, I should say. When you're not there, anyone can handle her. It isn't difficult to understand dogs. You just have to put yourself in their position.
Them things sweet, Sally.
Lozenges. I take them to keep my breath fresh.
Smells rotten, does it, mate?
No, no, not really. I just like to take precautions.
What's your name?
Joe.
Why did you turn the lights out?
I prefer to do it in the dark. Thank you. Thank you.
In earlier times, before his involvement with Queenie, his courtship and marriage, as he called it, Joe's life was strictly pigeonholed. By day, he worked for the BBC as literary editor of The Listener. In his quiet way, he was brilliant at the job. He promoted young writers, and he encouraged the old and distinguished to write, often anonymously, for his book pages. His best-known contributor, E.M. Forster, was also one of his closest friends. Joe seemed to enjoy provoking Forster's disapproval and being rapped over the knuckles for it. "I seize my pen," Forster wrote to him, "to read you a lecture on your character. I think you are scared or bored by response. There my lecture ends. For how you are to alter yourself, I know not." So, the Listener by day, but by night Joe was roaming the streets, certain pubs, or a notorious stretch of Hyde Park. The Monkey Walk, near Knightsbridge Barracks.
No sooner off than on again, eh?
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. Just didn't seem to be in the mood.
Well then, I'd better push off.
In those days, £1 was the recognised tariff for the foot guards. The horse guards cost rather more.
Easiest £2 I ever earned. I could stay a bit longer if you'd like me to.
No. Thank you.
For many years, Joe pursued the impossible, what he called the ideal friend, who must be masculine, faithful, loving, and heterosexual. The search led him, in middle age, to befriend a petty criminal from the East End. He described the surprising results of this experience in a novel, We Think the World of You. He called himself Frank in the story. And he invented a fictional character, Johnny, whom he was always having to bail out of trouble.
Johnny, why on earth didn't you come to me?
I must have been half pissed when I did it.
I'd have done anything for you. Anything, you know that.
Will you decide for me now, Frank?
So long as you don't ask me to help that revolting wife of yours.
Oh, Megan's not bad. Frank, she thinks the world of me. She does, in her way.
Last time I saw you, you hadn't got a good word to say for her. You called her a cow.
No, it's Frank. Oh, look, it was something else. I was asked if you'd mind Queenie for me till this lot's over.
Queenie? Who on earth's Queenie?
I showed her to you last time you come.
Oh. Yes, all I remember is that I trod on a Oh, dear Johnny, how on earth can I look after a dog?
She won't be no trouble.
You know how I live. Who's going to feed her and take her out? Anyway, I don't know anything about dogs. I don't want to, for that matter.
I don't know what to do for the best. She's expecting.
Well, not puppies as well.
No, Megan.
What, again? Haven't you heard of French letters?
You know how these things happen, Frank. I didn't mean to tell you, but she'll get slung out now. We owe some back rent, see? God knows what's going to happen.
Oh, Christ. What a muddle. Well, look, Johnny, I'm sorry. I cannot take your dog. But I'll try and see that you don't lose your home. I'll go and speak to your mother.
You're the best friend he ever had, Frank. And if he didn't know it before, he knows it now, poor boy.
Well, I did what I could to help him, naturally. Till that woman of his stopped him coming to see me. He hasn't been near me these last 2 months. Do you know, she's even intercepted my letters to him.
You don't like her, Frank, do you?
I love her.
Well, it's not what you used to say about her.
No, dear, I was only moderating my language.
I don't understand when you use them long words.
I'm sorry, Millie. I think she's hell. Will that do?
Hello?
It's Megan, Frank.
Oh, yes.
Johnny's in Brixton jail. They say he's coming up at the quarter sessions. He wants to see you again.
When?
Can go any time. I go almost every day.
Which day are you not going?
I shan't be going Thursday.
Right, well, tell him I'll see him then. Goodbye.
I won't get no more than 6 months and good behaviour 4. I could do that on my head.
Do you need anything?
Do me enough for some snout, Frank.
All right, I'll get you some.
Oh, I've told Megan I'm going away with you on your holidays when this lot's over. She don't mind. She thinks the world of you, she does.
One gets so bored with the usual obituaries, with crepe armlets, so to speak, which utter only the conventional grave cliché and are models of empty good taste. To read your salty remarks was most refreshing. It was a good instance of what I mean when I say my journalistic creed, that criticism unhampered by fear or favor is always the best. The closest one can get to speaking one's mind, the more readable and interesting one becomes.
First, please.
Rimmer's Road, please.
Where?
Rimmer's Road.
Ah, Thopscott.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's up.
Thank you.
She's been worming her.
Has she got worms?
Pups have worms. They're born with them.
Well, Dickie should take a lesson in greetings from this.
Perhaps she thinks you're Johnny.
Do you know what's good for worms? Human hair chopped up in treacle. Oh, Granddad told me that. There wasn't much he didn't know about dogs.
Now leave him alone, or I'll have you put out.
Tobacco's good too. I had a dog once. Wait up all the fag-ends in the street. And if they were burning, he'd stub them out first with his paw. Kept himself free from worms.
Willie, dear, have you still got that photograph of Johnny? taken during Johnny's insubordinate career as a sailor. Much water, alas, has flowed under the bridge since then.
In pursuit of the truth about himself and his own psychology, Joe tried to piece together his family history, uncovering secrets of his father's life as he did so. Most of Joe's childhood, he was the second of 3 children, was spent in a large, comfortable house in Richmond, Surrey. His father, Roger Ackerley, was a director of Elders and Fifes, the banana importers. Roger only got round to marrying Netta, Joe's mother, when Joe was 23. He described his mother as charming, feckless and garrulous, an instant success with everyone, and happy to be spoiled by her husband. Roger, the Banana King, as he was called, lived beyond his means in the most extraordinary way, as Joe later discovered. He had fathered and supported a second hidden family, living a few miles away in Barnes. There were 3 daughters by this union. They knew their father as Uncle Bodger. As a young man, having survived the First World War, apart from a wound in the bottom, Joe went up to Cambridge. He read law and wrote a little, without much success. His writing career only really took off by chance a few years later. E.M. Forster, his newfound friend, had spent many months in India, and out of the blue he wrote to Joe asking if he would be interested in acting as secretary to the Maharaja of Chhatapur. Forster himself had done a similar job for a different Maharaja. Joe agreed to go.
My father also gave me some useful advice before I left. Indians weren't to be trusted because they never looked you in the eye. There were 2 types you couldn't trust: the man whose eyes were too close together and the chap who didn't give you a straight look.
No, no, no. You mustn't touch me, nor my bed. Tonight I am holy, because I've had my bath and no one may touch me. Did you not know that? You must always say to me when you come here, is the Maharaja touchable or untouchable?
I'm sorry. I'll begin again. Is the Maharaja Sahib touchable or untouchable?
Untouchable!
Is this your theatre?
This is my living room. I sleep here, I read here, and I do all my business here. Now tell me, Mr. Ackerley, your opinion of the ancient Greeks.
I think they were very enterprising.
I have a book in the library which contains many beautiful photographs of Greek statues. Times have changed. Today, young men are never wholly beautiful. Some have beautiful faces, but ugly bodies. Some have beautiful faces and beautiful bodies, but have ugly hands and feet. Some are physically wholly beautiful, but they're stupid. Spiritual beauty is not enough. I must have beauty of form to excite my cupidity.
Your what, Maharaja Sahib?
Cupidity. What does it mean?
Lust.
But my good sir, you have Cupid, the god of love. Goodness, wisdom, and beauty. That is what the Greeks worshipped, and that is what I like. And therefore I shall build a Greek villa here in Chokrapur, and all my people shall dress as Greeks. Did you know, Mr. Ackerley, that I've got a Greek toga, and when I wear it, I recline on my couch like this. I like the old times. Charles I, the Stuarts, all the Stuarts. I like them very much.
And why Charles I?
Because I find in him many things like myself. And the Tsar. Don't they say like, likes, like? And now, Mr. Ackerley, are you ready to see my gods?
Yes, Maharaja Sahib.
You must tell me which of the boys you like best.
During his stay in the Maharaja's palace, Joe kept a diary, from which he fashioned years later his first book, Hindu Holiday.
Ahista, ahista, ahista. Now, what do you think of him?
I don't think I'm very impressed by him.
No?
Will he dance?
No, he cannot dance.
Well, may I take a closer look?
Of course. But you cannot smoke in front of a god. Nor tread on his carpet. What do you think of him?
He has good physique. But he looks stupid.
But do you not think he's beautiful?
No, I don't. Do you?
Of course.
How old is he?
16.
What else does he do, besides being a god?
Oh, nothing. Gods aren't allowed to do any other work. When they're 17, they can no longer be gods.
What happens to them?
Oh, they're all fools. Rogues and rascals. Would you call me an ugly man?
Certainly not, Maharaja Sahib.
There are those who have done so. They weren't beaten in the bush. They were honest. Now, please, you will tell me your opinion of Rider Haggard.
I haven't read him.
Very proud to have read him. Milton and Paradise Lost, you know.
I'd shown my father the manuscript, and one evening after dinner, he said to me, "Was the Maharaja a bugger?" I said no, and regretted all my life that I hadn't said yes and challenged him.
I know that one, yes.
I had closed the door on him.
He was killed in 14 years war, you know.
Don't do this sort of thing for nothing. You puss make me sick. I only go with you for the money.
As a boy, I was far from girlish. There were no marks upon me to make my father suspect the sort of son he had sired. I didn't lisp. I could throw overhand, and I could whistle. This is the kind of room in which one kills oneself.
Unlike Forster, who sustained a friendship with the policeman and his family over many years, Joe could find only short-lived involvements in his search for unquestioning love and devotion.
Johnny didn't make no mistake in her case. He had his wits about him then. Do you know her pups have fetched 10 to 15 quid a time? And she could have a dozen or more at once. I had to do with them in the army. I know about them ducks.
Goodness. Well, where on earth did he get her?
He said he had it given to him.
And if he said so, she was. I won't have you call the boy a liar behind his back.
She looks as though she wants to go out.
Well, she's been out for a couple of days. Tom hasn't felt up to it. Why don't you take her out now, Tom?
She'll be all right. She's got a yard.
I'll take her.
Do you want to? Johnny'd be pleased, I know.
She might not want to go with you. One-man dogs, they are. coffee.
I was touched by her beauty, the grace with which she moved and the feeling she gave of boundless energy and vitality. I was touched too by the attentive and almost personal gaze that she turned continually upon me.
Bitch! Good girl.
Joe never advertised his personal life, but he did react publicly to the newspaper reports on homosexual court cases and the double standards he felt they expressed. Sordid details on one page, high moral tone on another.
Sir, is it considered that educated thought and scientific progress are not yet sufficiently advanced to permit ventilation of a subject which, although it may be freely and objectively discussed in psychological, anthropological, biographical works, etc., seems still to be regarded in contemporary life as almost unmentionable anywhere except in the news of the world? I refer to homosexuality. During the course of legal proceedings against 20 men recently concluded at Abergavenny, one youth of 19 committed suicide on the railway lines, and 2 others attempted unsuccessfully to do away with themselves by hanging and poison to avoid the shame of exposure. It would be interesting to know whether public opinion today regards such suffering as merited, and the savage sentences up to and including 10 years penal servitude allowed by law and imposed by the judge as the most enlightened method of dealing with this matter. Yours, etc., J.R. Ackerley. My dear Millie, something will happen to her if she doesn't get out.
That's what I keep telling you.
She would go sick or mad.
Well, she had Tom's slippers last week. Oh, but he did pay her for that. He took off his belt to her. Oh, he did give it to her.
How disgusting.
Of course, she was sorry afterwards. I could see that. He made a special fuss of her that evening.
Does he beat her often?
My mind recoiled from that ugly runt, taking off his belt to the playful, affectionate creature. Day after day, nothing. Nothing. The hoping and waiting for something that never comes. Loneliness and frustration. Without realizing it, my waking thoughts were now of Queenie, trapped in her prison. Millie had promised to let me have her for a weekend of freedom. The same watchfulness, the same invitation that I'd already noticed in her, governed her behavior still. Gay though she was, it was a shared gaiety always. To caper about was not enough. I must caper too. At the same time, she showed certain traits it was difficult not to regret. She challenged, she interrupted, she threatened. She made deplorable scenes.
Sit down. No, not up there. Not up there. Queenie, down, Queenie. Down, on the floor. Come on, sit, down, Queenie. So sorry. Queenie, Queenie, down, sit. No, on the floor. Come down here. Good girl, good. Sit, good girl. Down. So sorry. I derived from it all a sense of personal satisfaction. It was a long time, I thought sourly, since anyone had seemed to want my company so much. I had forgotten that life itself was an adventure. She held the key to what I had lost, the secret of delight. She was childish, she was charming, and to me it seemed both strange and touching that anyone should find the world so wonderful. Of course, the story of my courtship of Queenie is autobiographical. But as pattern and plot took charge, fact and fiction merged, and Frank became for me an objective character.
Nobody took her out. Tom couldn't be bothered. She's been a prisoner like you. Didn't Megan tell you?
She said you'd had her over to your place and you was worried about her.
So you did know about it?
But what could I do? I couldn't do nothing in here. All right, maybe it was a mistake to put her there in the first place, only I didn't know what else to do with her. I did ask you first, Frank. I couldn't take her away from them again after they'd had the trouble of her and got fond of her, now could I?
Millie always said she was such a nuisance.
That's only Mum's way of talking. She don't mind. She likes having Queenie there. So does Tom. Thinks the world of her.
Possibly I was growing a little tired of that phrase.
The world, he thrashed her and he never took her out. Was that fair on the dog?
I told him not to hit her.
Well, he did hit her. He took off his belt to other swine. Although she begged him to take her out, he was too bloody lazy.
He ain't been himself lately. He's ill. Doctor told Mum he's got a growth. Mum says Queenie's all right.
Why did you buy her?
I wanted her. I saw her in a shop window and I had to have her. I put down a deposit on her and I'd done a burglary to get the rest. I'm mad on them dogs, didn't you know?
Before publication in The Listener, young poets could expect the Ackerley insistence on endless revisions.
You thought it was finished when you first brought it, but it was not. It is hardly possible to give too much trouble and thought to the perfecting of any work that one loves. How bitter it is to see the light when one's work is in print, and it is too late. When I first sent my novel to the publishers, I was told, the day after you publish it, the police will be round to arrest you for practicing homosexuality. As always, he was short of money. And as always, I supplied it. Happiness had to be paid for. But the 4 hours that he spent with me were so delightful, making up as they did for all the frustrations and sorrows of the past, and whatever frustrations and sorrows were to come.
That's one less. There's a couple of decent thrillers and stuff like that.
Queenie lay with us throughout the afternoon,
That's why I was meant.
her fur against our flesh, and we talked of her most of the time.
Well, take care of yourself, Johnny. See you, Frank.
Come on, Queen. Come on, girl. Would you believe it?
Let us spend the weekend with me, Johnny.
It looks as if I'll have to. Would you believe it? I just want to say goodbye to her, Frank.
He knew exactly where and how to touch her. It was what he was good at, the conferring of physical pleasure.
Faithless woman.
For a time we shared Queenie, and while it lasted, it was the happiest period of my life. One of my friends commented on the novel. I would have enjoyed the story if it had been written by someone else. But you made yourself out so nasty, I couldn't bear it.
See you. Bye-bye.
That remark amused me. I saw that I had made of Frank a success.
You've had a row with Megan.
I'm gonna get well and truly pissed.
I've been looking for you everywhere. What was it about this time?
Queenie. She's jealous of Queenie, I ask you.
Give Queenie to me, Johnny.
I can't do that. If I hadn't have got nicked, Queenie lived with me as my dog. She'd have had a different life from what she's had with you. But that's not to say she wouldn't have been just as well off.
Well, that would depend on the kind of life that you were prepared to give her.
No, it would not to my way of thinking. What you've never had, you never miss. How many dogs, town dogs, get as much exercise as Queenie? Not one in 1,000. You can't say they're unhealthy. They grow old just like any other dog. Do you know what I mean?
That I should never have interfered.
Oh, no, I didn't mean nothing like that. What I meant was...
That I've spoiled your life.
I'm not blaming you. It's my own fault. You've done your best, I know. What I mean is...
that everything was perfectly all right. If you think of selling her, Johnny, you can sell her to nobody but me.
Who said I meant to sell her?
I'll give you £40 for her any day.
Do you mean that?
Of course.
Got it on you? She's yours then. Want a drink?
Just a half, Johnny.
Quite nice, mate.
Airedale Terrier, Alopecia, Alsatian. A grand dog if properly kept and trained to obey, otherwise a load of doggy dynamite.
It was used freely by the Germans in the 1418 war and was adopted by many British officers who saw his merits.
Joe's passion for Queenie was recorded in a small masterpiece of animal literature, My Dog Tulip.
This churchyard draws others besides Queenie and myself for their private purposes. Upon the flattened grass, beneath the headstones in summertime, I occasionally find coins, which unnoticed in the darkness have slipped out of trouser pockets, and other indications that the poor fleeting living who have nowhere of their own have been here to make love amongst the dead. The dead are less particular and more charitable than the living.
Queenie, come in.
Queenie took over Joe's life. Typescripts were returned blood-stained from her horsemeat. She sabotaged conversations with her barking. She was like a jealous lover. Joe's friends, especially Forster, despaired of her. That bloody Queenie, he said. How can Joe be such a futile ass?
Good girl, Queenie.
During the 15 years I had Queenie for company, I never prowled the London streets again. She offered me what I had never had in my life before. Single-hearted, incorruptible, uncritical devotion, which is in the nature of dogs to offer.
Dangerous dogs, deerhounds, destroying dogs, developing natural traits. No one should aim at eradicating natural impulses. Anyone who attempts to do this will be endeavoring in a few short months to destroy the evolutionary work of nature over many thousands of years.
Don't you let that dog near me. I ain't to be trusted.
You don't look particularly... Queenie, you don't look particularly trustworthy yourself.
My chief sympathy now lies with the animals, wild or otherwise, whose lives are inconvenienced or destroyed by the stupid activities of the human race, with their bombings and poisonings of the forests and countryside. I think that life is so important and in its workings so upsetting that nobody should be spared, but that it should be rammed down their throats from morning till night.
This will be quite painless. She won't regain consciousness after the injection.
Oh, my darling. My darling old goose. Pretty lady, pray forgive. I took your loving life away. I could not bear to see you live, self-soiled and old, so sickly thin. I let the needle enter in, pretending it was play.
I think you ought to occupy yourself.
I am occupied, my dear. I am. I've just nursed a pigeon back to life, for one thing. Doesn't seem very much, but to me it was important. I'm struck in my old age of the way that we civilized creatures treat the animals that depend on us for their survival. It's a sad comment on our civilization.
And it's a sad comment on you. Why don't you go out a bit more? A dinner party might cheer you up.
Well, perhaps I am becoming a crank, I don't know. I'm also tinkering in my sober hours with a little memoir which I cast aside at the beginning of the war. I came across it the other day and started reading it. It's really rather good. If it ever gets published, I shall have 5 slim volumes to my credit.
Well, that's 5 more than most people.
Yes, I suppose it is. I'm just indulging in my customary self-pity. It's always been the curse I've had to live with, isn't it? I shall call the book My Father and Myself. I've already dedicated it to my darling dog. Under the first of her literary aliases, Tulip. There's a lot in it about my cruising days, I'm afraid.
Well, that's marginally preferable to stories about the wrong end of a dog. And I don't imagine you spare us any of the harrowing details.
I shall ram them down your throat.
Why must you run yourself down so much? Did you mention the listener?
Well, only in passing.
You should. You were a very good literary editor.
Oh, tar dear. I must say, it used to amuse me as I sat at my desk, surrounded by those prim and proper ladies, to wonder if they ever imagined how I spent my evenings. Somehow I think that Auntie BBC would not have been amused if she'd realized that one of her employees pressed large sums of her money into the hands of obliging guardsmen. Oh, incidentally, I think that my own ever so heterosexual dad was also an obliging guardsman once.
As he delved into his father's early life, Joe discovered that the womanizing Roger Ackerley had been picked up as a young guardsman by a rich patron, the Count de Galatin, and it was this mysterious character who helped set his father up in business. In his memoir, My Father and Myself, Joe tried to open the door that he had shut on his father when Roger had asked him if the Maharaja was a bugger. But, as Joe knew well, it was too late.
Kind to my memory. Kind to your memory? Well, why not? I've nothing against you. I think you were an excellent father. I only wish I knew what you were really like, and that you knew what I was really like. I wish I'd had imagination. I should like to have been a real writer, an inventor, rather than a mere recorder. Still, my little books are well put together. I took pains with them. I tinkered and I tinkered until I got them right. Even then, I was never satisfied. You see, I've always believed, my dear, that one can never do anything well enough. The drink talking, bless it. I'm spending the weekend with Forster, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Queenie always scared the pants off him.
Yes, well, she scared the pants off a lot of us.
Yes, I know. She loved only me. Well, au revoir, my dear.
Goodbye.
Thank you for coming.
All over. She's gone now. Her beautiful eyes haunt me still. Put to sleep. Why do people use that hypocritical euphemism? It always disgusts me.